and welcome to our second episode of 2023 of One Cardinal, One Cub, and One Beer. And I do want to implore you. Oh yeah, I'm gonna hold my cup up too. Yeah.
Yes. Cheers.
Cheers. Except mine's got receipts in it right now because I just haven't put them in the filing cabinet yet. So anyway, but please follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. Contact us through onecard1cub1beer@gmail.com and subscribe to our page by hitting that icon in the bottom right-hand corner. I've heard you have to be on a Mac or a PC. If you're just watching this on your TV, you're like, how do I subscribe to it? You're actually going to have to go to your computer and do it. But anyway, I've had people say, I can't see the icon, people on a computer. It's very faint. So if you're like me and you have failing eyesight, it's not the easiest thing to say. But please subscribe to our channel. And we have 1 week in the books where we've been on Patreon. And I'm going to shout out to our new supporters. Our first ever Patreon supporter is Jeffrey Phipps.
Jeffrey Phipps.
Jeffrey, thank you.
A wonderful person.
Jeffrey's also, he's going to be a guest in about a month. He's going to be a guest. So not just because he's the first Patreon, because he has some connections to reporting on the Cardinals back in his past. We also have Kathleen Opper. The reason that she subscribed is because she knew that I wouldn't cook for her if she didn't.
I like your style, Vince. I like it.
Actually, my wife is a huge Cardinal fan. We have a mixed marriage. It was very tough. We got married in 2008. It was very tough in 2011 because all winter long, she kept replaying Game 7 of the World Series. So anyway, and our third Patreon is a good friend of ours, Mr. Dan Rutledge, a great supporter of the show. So Dan, thank you. So I know you all want to support us. So go to Patreon, go to the search and just type One Cardinal, One Cub, and One Beer, and find a level that you want to support us at. $3, $5, or $10 a month. The $3 a month, I like this. It's called the what did I call it? The division winner. The $5 a month is called the pennant winner, and the $10 a month, that's the World Series championship. So
that's right.
Want to also push this. We are going to start a new segment. We're going to do this once a month, probably the last Wednesday of the month. And we'll probably call it something like Down on the Farm, where we are going to give a report on what's going on in the minor leagues for both teams. And for the Cubs, my son Maxwell Opper, he will contribute and he will do the report once a month of what's going on in the teams. And JJ, who's going to do the Cardinals? Huh?
Well, hey, I got this this youngster, this up and comer, Brody Jackson. That's right. Matinee idol. Brody Jackson is going to do the Cardinal minor league report.
Very good. And I hope that one of the things that is missing in a lot of talk shows, both podcasts and news and whatever, is that you just hear a name or two of, oh, this prospect's good, but you have no idea what they're doing there, who else is there, what level they're at. And Maxwell and Brody, they're going to take time every month to kind of weed through all that to help us understand what's going on. We have a special guest today. Before I do that special guest, I do want to say I do have Fergie Jenkins now framed, and I made the frame, and I actually I still had some Cubby Blue left in my spray paint collection, so I matched it up really well. So I'm very happy that now, instead of having the Roadrunner and the Coyote over my shoulder, I now have Ferguson Jenkins. Life is good. Thank you, JJ.
Hey, no problem.
And today we're going to have special guest, renowned collector, Mr. Phil Brooks will be our guest, and we will interview him, and he's going to have some exciting things to tell us about the life of a hardcore collector and someone who brokers a lot of deals in the collectible industry. JJ, I've talked a long time. What's going on with you?
Oh, Vince, it's the new year. We're having untimely weather. It's been warm of late.
And this is what I do in the summer. Is as often as we can. Sometimes it's like 5 nights a week. I built a deck in the backyard last year, and I expanded it like a few months later, and I've got like a, a a sitting room area. I mean, it's all one deck, but I got like a sitting area. I got a dining area, and then I've got a smoker. I've got um, a, a Brookstone griddle out there.
Oh man.
I've got a barbecue grill out there. I've even got a prep table out there. So I'll go out there and I will cook up a meal, and then we'll eat, and then watch the Cub game. If it's a night game. If it's not a night, if the Cubs aren't on, I'll watch whatever is on there. But this felt like one of those nights. Man, I would just love to be out, make something to eat, sit the family down, eat, and then sit down and watch a game. But it's January 11th.
It's
so
January 11th. It almost makes you feel like springtime's right around the corner. And I know old man Winter's going to show his ugly face here soon, but I'm enjoying it while we have it. My thing is I lay on the roof during the night and just look at the stars, and I got KMOX radio on and I listen to the Cardinal games. That's heaven to me, just looking at the stars and listening to the game. And
what's the pitch on your roof?
Oh, it's like this. It's like that. And if I put on any more weight, you're going to have to find a new co-host. I'm telling you, man. But I love it. Oh, it's wonderful out there. And I love getting up on the roof at night. We got like a garage roof and then the house roof. I get on the garage roof. So, maybe I only break a couple legs if I fell off. Well, in Cardinal land, I'm going to give you some dates, Vince. It's time for some dates. And I'm going to give you in 35 days from today, pitchers and catchers report to spring training. Oh man, life is good again. Just 35 days to make it, fans, and we can do it. We can do it. In 40 days, positional players get down to spring training. Now, this year's going to be a little different. We got the World Baseball Classic. So it's 33 days the pitchers and catchers show up for the World Baseball Classic, and 36 days, the position players show up for the World Baseball Classic to get ready for that. So they kind of work simultaneously there from all these players from all over the world. In 44 days, spring training starts, the spring training games. Oh, the crack of the bat. Oh, man, the smack of the leather when they catch it. Oh, man, I'm all revved up. And finally, we are only 78 days away from opening day. Opening day. And the Brewers are invading Wrigleyville for the opening day, and the Cardinals are at home against the Toronto Blue Jays. A lot of people are picking them pretty high, the Blue Jays. So we got a tough, and they've got everything. And a lot of people think the Cardinals are going to be good this year, but we'll see. I don't take nothing for granted. And that Blue Jay team, I think if we're going to play them, let's play them early and get it over with. Pull that Band-Aid off quick. Get them out of town before they wake up. That's my plan there. Now, in Cardinal news, I know there's no signings or anything going on, but one of the things as a fan, the Cardinals announce all the promotions for the upcoming season. So I kind of work my schedule around which games I'm going to by what promotions they're going to have. And the Cardinals this year are going to have 8 bobblehead days. They've announced 6 of them, but 2 of them haven't been announced yet. So they may be working on a Wilson Contreras one now and just haven't said anything, but we'll see. But the 6 they have named are Ryan Helsley, Wainwright, Roger Maris, an Ozzie Smith one, a Goldschmidt, and an Arenado. Those are the 6 they have announced. There's 2 they haven't announced yet. So we'll see. It could be a classic player. It could be because I love the old players. I'd like to see maybe a Dizzy Dean or a Roger Hornsby or Enos Slaughter, something like that. But this year they're going to have all kinds of things. There's, of course, a lot of jerseys. Now that St. Louis has a soccer team, there's a lot of cross pollination or something between the different sports teams. I don't even know what else to call it, but they're going to have a soccer jersey with the Cardinal emblem on it. Of course, they do the blues ones. There's tons of t-shirts. There's a bag belt. It almost looks like a fanny pack, but I guess that's out of vogue. So now they have a belt bag that kind of hooks to your belt. I'm not really
Yeah.
I look like a kind of guy that would have a bag belt, but I do not. I'm not a bag belt kind of guy. A Cardinal tumbler. I remember the last 2 years they had an Yadier Molina one, so I don't know who's going to be on that this year. They're going to have a beer stein, a 2013 National League Championship beer stein, a golf umbrella. I'm just looking at some of the things here. A Tommy Edman growth chart. They should have picked a taller player. That's going to be a small growth chart right there, but Tommy Edman's got the growth chart. And let's see. Oh, they always do like a Build-A-Bear thing for the littler kids and everything. So that's some of the things. And I know I get carried away with all the memorabilia and everything, but Vince, I went out to this week and I got a few things. I just want to share a few things I got to add to the collection. I remember, if you remember, 7-Eleven used to have Slurpees, and they came in these there's Joe Torre, 1972. Yeah, with a little Cardinal emblem on the back. Very nice. And it was just $1. I hadn't seen that before, so I wanted it. Just 3 things I'm going to share. The second thing I'm going to share is I got this big pin of the 1987 National League Championship team. It's got the team picture, and it just talks about the upcoming World Series in '87, the Cardinals, the National League champions that year. Some great.
Now, is that like a pin, or is it really a shield?
Yes, it's Tommy Edman shield. Yeah, at second base where they try to take him out. And we've talked many times on our podcast about Al Hrabowski. We both love Al. He was a character, and I've got about 7 things signed by Al. And I've got this, a friend was selling some of his collection out, and I bought this. This is 1975 when Al won the reliever of the year in the National League. But this shows him in his full Fu Manchu and his honoriness right there. And he signed it, the Mad Hungarian. Now that's 75, but Vince, you may have not seen this. This is his 1972 picture without a mustache, clean shaven. Look at that.
I have seen his I guess it wasn't his rookie baseball card, but after his rookie year, before he had grown the facial hair. So I have seen him. And then, of course, I saw him during the Vern Rapp era when he had to shave, because, you can't play baseball with a beard and a mustache or any kind of facial hair.
I know. What the Yankees? Yeah, I know. Vern Rapp, he tried. There were some bleak years for the Cardinals, and that was one of the bigger stories. Anyway, but as us as fans, we grew up, and I've been a fan since 74, and a lot of our guys, those guys that played in the 70s, they're getting older now, and we're starting to lose some of our heroes and some of the greats from the past. And just this past week, January 5th, Nate Colbert passed away, and I kind of wanted to spotlight him for a minute. Nate was born in St. Louis, and he was 76 years old. He played from 1966 to 1976, 11 seasons. He's known mainly as a San Diego Padre, and one of the few things that really stand out, he spent 6 of his 11 years with San Diego. He is the San Diego Padre all-time home run leader. And that's a major accomplishment. The Padres have been around a long time, and they've had a lot of great talent. And I've got their top 10 home run hitters, and I just kind of want to read off these players, just except for Tony Gwynn and maybe Trevor Hoffman. Players spend maybe 5-6 years with them, and then they move on.
Yeah.
So they've had a lot of turnover, but a lot of great players have wore the Padre uniform, where Nate hit 164 home runs, and he's number 1. But some of these other players on this list is Adrian Gonzalez hit 161. So he was close, but he's second. Phil Nevin, 156. Dave Winfield, who went in the Hall of Fame as a Padre with 154 home runs. Tony Gwynn, not known for his power, but he had 135 home runs and played there his whole career. Ryan Kolesko, 133. Ken Caminetti, an MVP, 121 home runs in a Padre uniform. Will Myers, 110. Hunter Renfroe is number 9. with 89 home runs, and Chase Headley with 87. Uh, a couple big points about Nate that I remember was he had played in I think this is like his claim to fame. If you think of Nate Colbert, this is what you think of. He played August 1st, 1972 in a doubleheader, and I believe it was against the Atlanta Braves. And in that, Nate had the doubleheader of the century. He hit 5 home runs in 2 games. And he grew up in St. Louis. And the first person to do that was Stan the Man Musial in 1954. And he was in the audience. The story goes, him and his father were there the day Stan just lit the place up against the Dodgers. And that's when he got his name. They said, "Who is that guy?" "That's the man. That's the man." So he turned to his dad and said, "One day I'm going to do that." Lo and behold, all these years later, in 1972, he does that. On that day, Nate, this is like this is a month for some people. He went 7 for 9 with 1 walk, 1 strikeout, and 7 runs scored. And that's a pretty amazing day right there. And he tied Stan with the 5 home runs and the doubleheader. So that's pretty darn cool. And I heard one story. I was listening to the MLB radio station, and they were talking to Randy Jones, a pitcher, one of the better pitchers for the San Diego Padres, a Cy Young Award winner, started an all-star game, I remember. And he told a story about Nate that when he came to the big leagues, he was brought up to with the Padres. They were in Montreal, and he had no money. And Nate took him out in Montreal and bought him a sports jacket. And goes, "You're in the big leagues now. You got to look like a big leaguer." So out of his own pocket, he bought Randy Jones a sports coat. So, and he said he was just a great guy, first baseman. And when late in Willie McCovey's career, he went to San Diego, and Nate had to move to the outfield. But just a heck of a player. And if you just kind of remembering Nate, and for all you younger fans out there, go on YouTube, go on the internet, look up his stats. Just a piece of baseball history I think you need to pay a little attention to. So, Vince, that's it for me for the week. And I'll pass it back off to you.
Well, I'm going to continue with the obit. Bill Campbell also passed away, Soup Campbell. One year he was Rolaids Relief Man of the Year. I think he did that when he was with the Red Sox. I don't remember. He played for a lot of teams. He played for the Cardinals. He had a spot with the Cubs too. But Bill passed away. He was only a closer for a few years, but man, he had a pretty good career as what we would call a long relief now, when he wasn't quite up to closer status anymore. So he was just one of those fascinating characters. He loved life. He was kind of a happy-go-lucky guy. So rest in peace, Bill Campbell. As far as Cub news and rumors go, the Cub convention is this weekend, and I know that all of our viewers on YouTube and listeners will be caravanning up to Chicago. We do have a few listeners in Chicago, so maybe there'll be a few people who go. If you go to the Cub convention, you go to the Cardinal convention, send us a message of one Cardinal, one card, one Cub, one beer at gmail.com and let us know how it went. As far as the Cubs, there's nothing going on. And when I mean nothing, the Cardinals got like, I don't know, 72 players playing in the World Baseball Classic. We have 2 so far. Seiya Suzuki is going to be playing for Japan, and Marcus Stroman is going to be playing for Puerto Rico. So not all the countries have named the rosters yet. So, we may get a few more in there. I'm asking those of you who are spiritually minded to please pray for a third baseman for the Cubs, because I have no faith in what's going on there. We'll get into that a little bit later. One of the interesting things about third base for the Cubs is I had a few people that were, no one really talking to me. I listen to a lot of podcasts and read a lot, and there are people who are just screaming, "Hey, Correa is not going to go to the Mets for 12 years, $315 million. It's going to be a shorter deal. This is time for the Cubs to pounce on him for maybe 3 years, $100 million, blah, 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 blah. Well, that only lasted for about 24 hours because Correa is going to the Twins, who are offering him 6 years, 200 million. And I kind of like that. What do you think, JJ? I kind of like that a smaller market is going to have one of the great names in baseball. It's not going to be a Yankee or one of the marquee teams.
Mets.
It's the Twins. I think they pretty cool that Carlos Correa is going to be there.
And he was there last year, and the fans loved him. And I think that's cool. I like that. And as long as the Mets didn't get him, because man, they're putting together like an all-star team over there.
Yeah, yeah. And a little plug. I'm not getting paid for this. There's a podcast network called Locked On, and all the teams have a Locked On podcast, and it's called like Locked On Cubs, Locked On Cardinals. This is some great stuff. I listen to both podcasts, mostly, the Cubs, but I do listen in on the Cardinal podcast every now and then. And this is some of the great stuff. What I like about it is these are people who their fandom shows first. So it's kind of like our show or our podcast where, we're just fans, just rabid fans to want the best for our teams. And that's what I love about the Locked On. I do listen to some of the corporate stuff. The NBC out of Chicago has a podcast that I listen to on a regular basis, but it's kind of corporate, and the Locked On podcast are really good. And that's really all that's going on in Cubland, which means that there's really nothing going on in Cubland. So, hey, it's the second week of January. What did you expect? So,
all right. Hey, welcome to One Cardinal, One Cub, One Beer. Today we have a special guest, somebody that we have wanted on the show for a long time, a good friend of mine. He's a Renaissance man. He's a baseball fanatic. He's a businessman. He's a stand-up comedian, and he's an all-around good guy. We want to welcome Phil Brooks to our podcast. Welcome, Phil.
Well, thank you, JJ. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Vince. Appreciate you guys having me today.
Oh, you have become one of my favorite people. One, we'll get to later about all your memorabilia, but we always ask the first question to all of our guests that come on the show. How did your fandom start? How did you become such a great baseball fan? Can you share that with us?
Sure. And the short version is I was born and bred for it. I'm a third generation, lifelong diehard Cardinals fan. My grandfather played minor league ball in the Detroit Tigers organization and still insisted on rooting for the Cardinals. And when his teammates would give him grief about it, he'd be like, hey, we're not even in the same league. I'll worry about it if we play him. He retired during World War II and became a fast pitch softball player, and was good enough that my dad didn't play baseball as a youngster. He did every other sport instead. And so he ended up being a collegiate football player. And unfortunately, the athletic genes seem to have skipped me. But I do play a mean pickup game of basketball.
All right. All right. Well, you shared a story about being from Illinois, and the town was kind of split in the middle with the Cardinal fans and the Cub fans. And
sure.
You want to share that with us? Anything about that, living in that area and going to school and wearing your Cardinal stuff and all the Cub fans? Or
Sure. So I grew up in a town in central Illinois called Decatur, about halfway in between Springfield and Champaign on I-72. But I-72 is really the cusp of Cardinals-Cubs rivalry territory. And in the neighborhood I grew up in, if your dad was a Cubs fan, players would come and go. They'd get injured. They get traded. Cardinals had Fred Bird, but the Cubs didn't really have a big-time mascot. So year in and year out, the constant for each team was their premier announcer. If your dad was a Cubs fan, Harry Carey was on the television 162 games a year. And if your dad was a Cardinals fan, the television was on and it was muted because you could hear Harry Carey or you could hear Jack Buck on the radio all the way in the backyard for that same 162 game season. And so for me, where I grew up, the question was never really, hey, are you a Cubs fan or a Cards fan? The question was, who's your guy? Is it Jack Buck or is it Harry Carey? And however you answered that question, that's how everybody knew, unless you were wearing a hat all the time like I was, which team you rooted for. And it is for that reason that my all-time favorite trading card, the one that it's not the most valuable piece I own, but it's certainly my most favorite. And it is what I would call a rock bottom collectible, because I don't want to know what kind of rock bottom I'd have to hit to part with this card. I just pray I never do. But in 2008, Upper Deck made a card for their SP Legendary Cut set that is serial numbered 1 of 1. So it's the only one that they ever made. And it features autographs of both Harry Carey and Jack Buck.
Wow.
How about that? Yeah. I've ran into that problem too before. Yeah.
Quite working out, but
man, I feel like I'm at the Smithsonian or something. I feel an honor to get to see that. Man, that is pretty darn cool. Oh, that was a great time. I tell you what, baseball is the sound of summer. I don't know about you, but driving through town, you could hear people out barbecuing, people working on their cars or playing wiffle ball in the backyard, and you could hear the ball games going on. And I'm sure that's like that. Don't know as much about Chicago. I was up there in the Navy, but in St. Louis and Southern Missouri and Arkansas, that's how it is. And you'd hear Mike Buck. And like you said, you turn the sound down and listen to the game.
Yeah.
Well, Phil, do you have a favorite player? Is there like, it doesn't have to be a Cardinal or a Cub. Was there a player growing up that you kind of connected to?
Absolutely. My all-time favorite player is hands down Ozzie Smith.
That's a good one. And the reason I ask you that is you had a story. You've collected Ozzie memorabilia over the years, but the thing, can you share the because Ozzie knows you when he sees you, he knows who you are. You've had some contact with him before and everything. Yeah.
So he first met me when he signed his rookie card for me when I was 10 years old and in the hospital with a burst appendix. At the time, he didn't want to sign things that showed him with San Diego, but he made an exception for me because I was 10 years old and in the hospital and a collector. And I spent 27 years collecting Ozzie Smith. He'll tell you I built one of the 5 or 6 nicest Ozzie Smith collections ever assembled. And the day came where I was talking with him, and he said, Phil, get rid of all your stuff. And I said, whoa, what? And he goes, look, I know you've built this great collection of me. Sell your Ozzie Smith stuff. Use the money to buy a Jackie Robinson autograph, because he's at the risk of being macabre, he's done signing through the mail. His autographs are only going to get tougher to find and are only going to become more valuable. Whereas with me, I'm going to keep signing everything you bring me to sign. I'm going to keep signing everything everybody else in town brings me to sign. So you better believe I'm going to keep signing everything that I get paid to sign by the Cardinals and the card show promoters and the card companies and everybody else. And he goes, I'm making my living signing my name. My autographs are not likely to get to go up in the long run. He said, Jackie Robinson never got that chance. Sell your Ozzie Smith collection, buy a great Jackie Robinson autograph. And so I did. And I didn't see him for a long time after that. But, I was never a Make-A-Wish kid because they didn't find my brain tumor until I was in my 40s. But I always knew growing up, had I been a Make-A-Wish kid, my wish was going to be to play catch in Busch Stadium with Ozzie Smith. And in September of this year, thanks to the Cardinals' Turn 2 with Ozzie promotion they did, I finally got to play catch in Busch Stadium with Ozzie Smith. Man. And I told him it was a lifelong dream come true. And when I told him about it, he goes, "Oh my God, Phil, I didn't realize you had a brain tumor. How's your health now?" And I told him, "Thank God, good enough I can be here." So, and Ozzy then proceeded to give me a big hug right there on second base in front of God and everybody, including my parents who were in the stands recording it all. So it was definitely an amazing, amazing experience, and one that I will absolutely repeat if I get the chance to in the future.
Oh man, that is great.
That's awesome.
That is. Now, I mentioned you have a business, and since we're one Cardinal, one Cub, you deal with a lot of Cub fans as well.
Sure,
And
especially when I'm back home.
what is the number one item or person that the Cub fans like to collect that you go out and find for them? Is there anyone in particular?
Absolutely, Ryan Sandberg.
Oh,
I just cannot have too much Ryan Sandberg stuff. And every time you think you've got too much Ryan Sandberg stuff, you turn around the next week or the next month and you're out of Ryan Sandberg stuff. You need more Ryan Sandberg stuff. Definitely Sandberg.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think had I grown up a Cubs fan instead of a Cardinals fan, Sandberg would have been my Ozzie Smith, right? I mean, for the better part of a decade, those two guys were the starting players for the National League All-Star team up the middle. They were the Keystone combination. And I think Sandberg has a legacy as a Cubs star that is honestly probably very comparable to Ozzie's legacy as a Cardinals star. And, each one of them started out with a less renowned team and managed to get traded to one of the top three rivalries in sports, as far as I'm concerned: Yankees, Red Sox, Giants, Dodgers, Cardinals, Cubs. And from that point on, flourished and became a hero, not just to, Ozzie Smith isn't just a hero to me because he signed his rookie card for me when I was 10 and has given me wonderful advice several times since. Ozzie Smith is a hero to an entire generation of Cardinals fans, from the ones who fell in love with the winning teams of the 80s to the ones who stuck with it through the not winning as much teams in the 90s. And Ryan Sandberg, very similar experience with the Cubs. Maybe not as much winning, but certainly, as many seasons as the standard bearer for what fans tell their sons to aspire to, right? I mean, I emulated Ozzie's batting stance in Little League, and just everything I did, I tried to do the way I would see Ozzie do it on the field, game after game, day after day. I never did backflips, but I guarantee you that there.
Did you hit a left-handed home run off Tom Niedenfuhr?
No, but I'll tell you what, I guarantee you there were kids growing up in the neighborhoods I grew up in that were Cubs fans that were emulating Ryan Sandberg in all the same ways and for all the same reasons.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because, and I know in dealing with collectors, you're dealing with people with disposable income that are a little bit older. But I think the younger generation of baseball fans, Cub fans, Rizzo's exceeded Sandberg as far as the popularity scale goes.
Well, I'll tell you, and that's an excellent point that you make, Vince, because every generation has their stars, every generation has their heroes, and one of the things I love about the hobby is that it's wide open. Whether you're a young kid just starting your collection today, or a retiree who's thinking about collecting or needing a new hobby, this is the one I would pitch for anybody. Right. And for guys who are 20 years younger than me, it may not be Ryan Sandberg. It may be Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo. And for guys who are 20 years older than me, it's Ron Santo or Ernie Banks. But there's always somebody worth trying to emulate uh, in either organization. And, you know, for Cardinals fans that are half my age today, uh, they have so many players to choose from between, you know, Goldschmidt and Arenado and, you know, Yachty and Pujols and Wainwright that when I ask a kid today, hey, who's your favorite Cardinal? I don't know who they're going to answer, but I
Yeah.
can pretty much guarantee it's going to be one of the five guys I just named.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna brag on you, Phil. I am a I'm an addict. I love my baseball. Vince is an addict, but he doesn't get he's you know, I think he's more a regular addict. I'm a fanatic. And when I go to and get my collectibles, we treat it like a piece of art. Oh, this is the pieces. I want to show you the piece of my collection. And you are my dealer, Phil. You're my dealer. When I see you, you're so good with people. Phil opens the boxes. I want to talk to you, but Phil, you're with a customer for 15 minutes. And I'll say, I'll come back later and you got somebody else. But Phil takes things out of the boxes. He shows you. He says, oh, if you like this, you might like that. So sometimes I'll go over to Phil and I'll just plan on spending a little. Phil usually, I'm going home on fumes after I see you, Phil. But I want to thank you. And where can people, because I've bought half of my bobbleheads. It's so expensive to go to a game and the gas and the parking and the tickets. A lot of times I'll just say, I'll go see Phil. He'll hook me up. And I know
Sure.
you do. You got stuff I never even knew existed. So if a fan's listening to this and say, well, I want to meet with Phil, where would you be at and how could they get a hold of you?
Sure. So there are two easy ways for fans to catch me. The first is a lot of my customers on the Missouri side of the river find me at the Orlando Gardens Baseball Card Show, which is almost always the first Sunday of the month. It's sponsored by St. Louis Sports Collectors, and Dave Jackson does a tremendous job of keeping that organization running in great shape. That is usually the first Sunday of every month. And then the third full weekend of every month, customers can also find me and my team at the Belleville Flea Market. And so you would be shocked at how many people will not cross the river to do business. I don't know why, but it seems like I have incredibly different customer bases on both the St. Louis side and the Illinois side of the river. So my St. Louis customers can find me the first weekend of the month at Orlando Gardens baseball card shows, and my Illinois customers find me the third full weekend of the month at the Belleville Flea Market in the trophy room under the Pepsi sign.
See, I can speak to that, having lived in both Illinois and Missouri. When I lived in Illinois, you didn't want to go into St. Louis because, of course, you were going to get gunned down. And when you lived in Missouri, you had the perception that everything in the Metro East, everybody lived in one farm somewhere outside of Freeburg, and there's nothing else there until you hit Chicago. So that's why they never cross. But lived on both sides. Let me ask you, is there one thing that just, if you could narrow it down to just one thing that you have dealt with, that you've got your hands on, what's the most impressive thing, the thing that just made you a little starstruck? Wow, I can't believe I'm looking at this.
Oh, that's an excellent question. And the truth is, I have several different pieces like that in my inventory right now, pieces that I would call collection centerpieces. In fact, while I still don't have a Jackie Robinson autograph, the money that I raised from selling my Ozzie Smith collection bought me what I would call the John Hancock of Rogers Hornsby autographs. In 30 years of studying Dizzy Dean and Rogers Hornsby autographs, I've never seen a bigger, crisper specimen of a Hornsby autograph than this one that I have. And I mean, it's not cheap as trading cards and collectibles go. But it's also not the most expensive thing I have either. So when I think about questions like this, I like to use the term rock bottom collectibles. And the reason I say that is because I think every true collector ends up with something in their collection that is not for sale, that they don't ever want to be apart from, and they don't know what kind of rock bottom they would have to hit for them to sell that collectible, and they just pray they never find out. And for me, another collectible like that, besides the Harry Carey Jack Buck 1 of 1, is the ball that Kurt Flood signed for me my senior year of high school. I got the opportunity to spend 15 minutes with him my senior year of high school, and it changed my life forever, because Kurt Flood was the first person I ever met who looked at me and said, you know, Phil, you should go to law school and become a sports agent. My daughters are doing that out on the East Coast right now, and we need more good sports agents. You should do that too. And until then, I'd never even thought about going to law school, and going to law school didn't work out for me. So maybe it wasn't the best choice. But that day, I also had a copy of Flood's autobiography with me. And he asked me if I wanted him to sign that for me too. And I said, no, you know, Mr. Flood, this is a ratty tatty copy. I got it for a dime at a library book sale. It's not even in one piece. I've read it cover to cover twice since then. I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go home. I'm going to hit the bookstores. I'm going to find the best conditioned copy of your autobiography I can find. I'm going to find one that's never been opened, never been read. And the next time I meet you, I'm going to bring it with me, and I'm going to have you sign it then. And he started laughing. He goes, Phil, now I know you're a collector. And fortunately, he passed away before I got the chance to meet him again. But that 15 minutes I spent with him is when he signed this ball for me. And I've had it authenticated by PSA DNA since, so that God forbid anything does happen to me, I'm not really going to have this cremated with me. My family will be able to sell it for something. But I have bought and sold a lot of Kurt Flood signed baseballs since then, but that one is mine. And the one he signed for me in person, when I got to spend 15 minutes with him that one time, and it changed my life forever. And yeah, that one's not for sale. That one's mine.
It's a great answer. Thank you.
You know, as a collector, I don't know about you, Phil and Vince, but when you have something and somebody comes in and sees it, they'll say, what's that? And you just don't show it. You usually have a story behind each. I'm a weirdo like that. Everything I have, I remember where I got it. I remember what it means to me. I remember the year I got it, just stuff like that. And I love, yeah, like it's almost like my little museum, my little Smithsonian, you know. Mm-hmm. You told me a story, though. I want you to share this because this is a great story. Phil not only just deals in the local area, he travels and buys collections and things like that. And you told me a story, because a lot of our people who will listen to this love Nolan Ryan. Oh, sure. The Nolan Ryan story, because I'm nothing compared to this fan that had this Nolan Ryan collection. If you would share that, because that's an incredible story, man. Yeah. So, and that's been a while ago. We're talking probably 14, 15 years ago. But I was living in Springfield, Illinois at that time, and doing some consulting work for a gaming hall. And one of the customers there approached me, and another guy that I travel with and work with a lot named Sean Phillips, who owns Collectibles Corner up in Bloomington, Illinois, and said, hey guys, I need you to fly from Peoria down to Tampa, Florida, to do an appraisal of a Nolan Ryan collection. And we said, well, you know, we can do that. But that's not going to be free. There's going to be a fee for that. And she goes, yeah, well, the money is there. I need somebody who knows what they're doing, that I trust and know I can trust, to go down and look at it. We said, okay. So we fly down from Peoria to Tampa, and we get to the home. And when you open the front door, this guy, who was a retired postal carrier, he had commissioned a local artist in Tampa to paint
life-size portraits of Nolan Ryan, one for each of the 4 teams he played for. And then this postman had driven from Tampa to Alvin, Texas, and had Nolan Ryan sign each one of these 4 paintings, and then drove the paintings back to Tampa, where he spent more than $2,500 a painting just getting them framed so that you could hang them in his living room. Then you walk through the living room, you turn left into the kitchen, and there's a giant glass cube. Imagine a baseball holder, but now supersize it just to the size of a kitchen table. And under that glass cube, this guy had a Nolan Ryan commemorative horse saddle. This was a leather saddle, serial numbered to 34 pieces ever made, with paperwork from the artist explaining that there were actually 37 made, because he'd also made a prototype, one that he kept for himself and one that he gifted to Nolan Ryan, and then the 34 that were in the front run. And this guy had a lot of other nice collectibles in the house, but the craziest part of it was that he had kept most of his Nolan Ryan collection in cardboard boxes on his back porch next to his pool in Florida. And we opened up these boxes to find black mold just covering everything. I mean, some pieces were so moldy, it was hard to make out what they were. It was mind-blowing to us to find this, extensive Nolan Ryan collection of cards, magazines, books, I mean, you name it, paper products, rotting on this guy's back porch. And unfortunately, that all the stuff on the porch was a total loss. And we commiserated and figured out how we would explain this to her. And finally, we just told her, we said, listen, here's the truth. So much of this collection is a total loss that the stuff in the living room and kitchen that is well preserved is so obscure. And so, I mean, these 4 paintings in the living room are folk art, that's all there is to it. And I mean, to be perfectly honest, we can give you about $6,000 for everything in the house. And it was just, I mean, I feel a pit in my stomach now thinking about having to deliver that news, because you never want to be that guy who's like, oh, sorry, your stuff's not what you think it ought to be. And that's when we got the kind of shock that you always hope to have in this business. I don't know that you hope to, but her immediate response was, I knew it. I knew the locals were trying to rip me off. I've had 3 different store owners out to the house, and not one of them has bid higher than $2,500 for everything here. You go get a rental truck right now and you haul that stuff back home to Illinois and you sell it up there. And that's what we did. And it was, and the drive home was crazy because we get caught in a tremendous thunderstorm in the mountains in Georgia, and the roof of our rental truck starts leaking on the passenger.
Man.
And then one of the one of the windshield wipers flies off the window in the middle of the storm. And yeah, it was just a crazy adventure. But we got everything back home, and well, I don't have it hanging on the wall that you see behind me. It's the piece, we each kept one piece from that collection, and the piece I kept is a print signed both by Nolan Ryan and the artist. And in fact, I think you could still buy these prints from Nolan's charity, but it shows him in a cowboy uniform with his legs kicked up, and underneath that a picture of him to represent each of the 7 no-hitters that he threw.
Oh man, that's pretty cool.
And that's a piece that's hanging in my bedroom right now.
Pretty darn cool.
Nice.
I got my Ryan right back there.
Yep, I see it.
Signed
Very
by-
cool.
Yes.
All right.
Well, oh, here we go. Here we go.
I have 2 bobbleheads, Nolan Ryan and the Empire Man. So the Empire Carpet Man. So there's
Very-
Nolan.
Hey, there
Nice.
you go. I teared up looking at that, Vince. Well, also, I want to be mentioned also, Phil, that you are a stand-up comedian. Phil, Vince does comedy, I do comedy, and you do comedy. You've been doing it for a while, and I love seeing your act when I catch you. I saw you this Monday. Where can
Thank
the
you.
people come see you? Advertise some of your gigs coming up, or where people can come see you. I know you've done a gig in Vegas even.
Yeah. Actually, I've done 3 shows in Honolulu, Hawaii in August, and I got to be on stage at Wise Guys in Las Vegas in October, which is their premier stand-up comedy club. And as far as catching me around here, the one show that I try to make it out to and participate in week and week out, week after week, is the Comedy Shipwreck at the Heavy Anchor, which is a bar in South City. Great comic named Chad Wallace runs the Comedy Shipwreck. And I'll tell you, for my money, Chad is probably the best person in the area at cultivating young comics. You know, if you've thought you might want to give stand-up a try, there's no safer place for you to go than the Comedy Shipwreck at Heavy Anchor with Chad Wallace on Monday nights. The sign-up's at 8, show starts at 9. I'm usually going on stage at about 11, which is why none of my friends and family ever make it out to see me. It's 11 o'clock on a Monday night, but I'm sure glad you get to see me there, JJ, and I appreciate your support for sure.
I appreciate you, man.
Well, we do need to wrap this up, but Phil, man, it's been great to meet you. JJ raves about you.
I do all the time.
Kind of a man crush because you're a collector, so you know, and you deal with that industry. So I've been hearing about you for a few weeks. So fascinating stories. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to doing it again.
All right, we'll have you on again.
Good,
Thank you. So, JJ and I thought we would do something that would be fun. We thought we would put together, as of today, what the 40-man roster, what other people who are not necessarily on the 40-man roster, we thought we would put together what we think is going to be the opening day roster and the opening day lineup. So, JJ, you want to go first?
Why, sure. Want to do infield, and outfield, and pitchers and relief, or just do our hitters and then we do the pitchers, or just take it all, whatever you like.
Let's just take it all.
All right. Well, Wilson Contreras. Well, I'm gonna start. I go around the diamond. Wilson Contreras, of course, our new acquisition, ex-Cub. We're happy to have him here in St. Louis. He'll be on the roster, and we're excited for him. He'll be there opening day as long as nobody gets hurt. And I believe the backup catcher. I don't know. I don't think the Cardinals can carry 3 catchers. I think it's going to be Kisner. He's 27. He hit in the minors. He hasn't hit in the big leagues. He's done a good job of catching, and I think Wilson's going to play some, do some DHing for the Cardinals as well. So Kisner will get to play, which means Herrera would be down in Memphis, and he's only 22. And I think it'd be great if he gets to play every day and stay sharp in case something happens to Kisner, or God forbid something happens to Contreras. So I think that's what's going to happen at our catching position. At first, I think the only true first baseman we're going to carry, of course, is Goldie. And you know, him and Contreras will be the middle of that lineup. I don't know how or where they're going to put the guys. And I've heard a lot of people speculating on like the young players for the Cardinals, but I'll believe it when I see it with some of these guys. But Goldie will be the first baseman. At second base, I think we're going to carry 2 guys that are going to split time, and they're going to be on the roster opening day. Nolan Gorman, a lot of talk was about him maybe moving in a trade, but the Cardinals covet him, and he's a left-handed bat, a left-handed power bat. He needs to put the bat on the ball a little more this year. Some people think at second base, he possibly could be a 35 home run a year hitter. I know he did great in the minors. He didn't hit much last year. He's actually a true third baseman. So maybe on some days he could back up at third base and he could play second and he could be that left-handed DH that we were looking for. I remember you asked me what my Christmas wish was for the Cardinals was a left-handed bat. Well, maybe Nolan Gorman can be that big left-handed bat. He's got a big swing. Might have to work on that a little bit. We have a new hitting coach. We have some new coaches, so maybe there'll be a new approach this year. But I look for uptake on him because I think he's a blue chipper. I don't know if he'll be an all-star or anything in the near future, but I think he's going to be a good one in his left-handed bat and plays a very nice second base. And then the other second baseman is Brendan Donovan, who won a Gold Glove this year as a utility player, and he also bats left. Very good on base percentage, and I could see maybe Brendan getting more of the playing time and Nolan being the backup. I don't know, or Donovan's going to get a lot of playing time relieving different people. So I see both of them on the thing, and I see maybe because Donovan gets on base more, he might be the guy, and then Gorman be filling in and DHing things. At shortstop, I think we're going to carry two, which is Tommy Edman, who has won a Gold Glove at second base, and he's still 30 bases the last 2 years. And then we still have the young on the team, and he hasn't done much last 2 years, but I heard he's down in Jupiter working. I know he's doing his best. I know he's giving it his all. We got one more year, and it'd be great if he could come through this year. Both of them. Edman is a switch hitter, and he's our speed guy, and very good base stealer. And DeYoung has a lot of power at shortstop if he can come through. But I'd be happy if he hit 245. I really would. That'd be an uptake from where he's been, and just hit us 15, 18 home runs. I'd be happy with that. Of course, Arenado at third, the Gold Glover, the Platinum Glove winner. So that's pretty much our infield, and I think all the guys the Cardinals are going to carry with a lot of different variations of people we can move around. In the outfield, it's kind of interesting. We have a lot of people vying for those spots, and I think the three starters is O'Neill in left field, who has won 2 Gold Gloves, and last year it just seemed like just when he would get it going, he got hurt. And he's doing a lot of flexibility exercises because he's just so massively muscular. He's always pulling a muscle. Like Satchel Paige says, I've never pulled a muscle because I ain't got no muscle. That's me too. You can't pull fat. So, maybe he doesn't have, and I think O'Neill leads the league in getting thrown out by half a step at first base. He'll hit it so hard and they'll throw over there and he'll just get beat by half a step. And then Dylan Carlson, who the Cardinals truly believe in, and he is our center fielder, and I just think he's going to get better and better. Now, this year he only hit 236. He is a switch hitter, and he's much better right-handed. And so I don't know if they're going to keep the switch hitting experiment going. He looks like a big pro baseball player. He looks good in the outfield. He's got a good arm. We'll see. We'll see. I hope he comes through. And in the darling of the Cardinals, the spark plug, the Rex Hudler of the team, Lars Newbar in right field. And I heard some fan thing. They said that rating the top right fielders, and they put Lars like number 5. And I was like, I'm a Cardinal fan, but that's crazy. And I love him. If he is the 5th best right fielder this year, we can start printing those playoff tickets, because last year he hit 228. So he's got some picking up to do, but I just love him because he's durable. He plays a lot of positions. He's the guy with the pepper mill going on the bench. He can play some center field. So he definitely has a position out there, and he's a left-handed bat. Cardinals have a lot of left-handed bats and 2 switch hitters. Now the 2 backups in the outfield and that can play other position. Yespis, which Pujols just raved about. Last year he hit 253 and he is a right-handed hitter. He got hurt a little bit last year, but he can play first, he can play third, and he can play in the outfield, and he can DH. And he's a really big guy. And then our best hitter in the minors last year, Burleson, not much of a fielder, but he's a left-handed bat, and he was one of our best hitters in the minors, but he came up in a short window. He didn't have a whole lot of bats. He didn't hit very well at all. But a lot of people believe he could be a hitter. And we have so many outfielders. I could see the Cardinals making a deal somewhere along the line. And like you were talking about Korea and the fans, a lot of people were talking about Trevor Bauer is out there. And I don't think the Cardinal fans are the type of folks that want Trevor Bauer here, but I'm telling you what, if he came here, he'd be our ace. I think he'd be the top pitcher on the Cardinal team. Will we
I
get
don't
him?
think
I don't think he
I
will.
he may not get a job until it gets close to stretch time and the team is desperate to secure a playoff spot or maybe solidify their playoff roster. Just touching him is poison. I just
Everywhere he's went, usually there's a bad, I don't know, he doesn't stay long. Like 1 year, it seems like he does okay. If he's anywhere for 2 years, I think they're about ready. I think they get tired of his act.
he is vastly unpopular with his teammates and with the fan base. And this is an issue that he has had going all the way back into his high school years.
Yes. And college, yeah.
Yeah, there's a personality issue that grates against a lot of people. So and to say nothing about the issue, the legal issues he's had. So yeah, I of course it's baseball, there's always the Yankees out there, but I'd just be surprised. You're going to get him for the league minimum, but
Yeah.
I'd just be surprised if someone takes him before midsummer.
Trading deadline kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, our pitching staff looks pretty good. I mean, we don't have any blow the ball past people, except if you count Flaherty. And Flaherty's really, in his career, he's only had like little stretches of brilliance. He's just been a nice pitcher. When he's on, he's top notch. He's and a lot of these, we have 4 guys that are at the last year of their contract. So maybe we can sign a couple of these guys for next year, for 2024. But right now, the 5 that looks like it's the rotation for us is Jack Flaherty being the ace, Miles Michaelis, who's had 2 really good years for the Cardinals, was hurt in there as well. But last year was a very good year and threw over 200 innings. And I kind of like him, but he's a pitch to contact guy with good control. Montgomery, we got from the Yankees for Bader. And Bader had that playoff run, and the Yankee fans are thinking they stole him from us. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to kind of keep track of that and match Bader versus our center fielders, because I think by June, you'll see what they get. And you know what? I hope Bader has a nice career with him, but I think we got the better end of that deal. So Montgomery, and I really like him as a pitcher. He's a gamer. I like him. Steven Matz, I think a lot of Cardinal fans, our baseball people, forgot we have Steven Matz. He had a very good year with Toronto Blue Jays 2 years ago. Came over here, was pitching in maybe a little over 500, and then he got hurt. So he'll be back to prove something. He's a lefty, and so is Montgomery. So there's 2 righties, 2 lefties, and of course, Waino to round out the pitching staff. And nowadays you have more than 5 pitchers, and I think Hudson will be that 6th guy. And we have a lot of guys that pitched, at least started a few games last year. And some of these guys will get to prove themselves in spring training. Now, I don't think they're going to be on the roster at the beginning of the year, because we're talking about the roster for opening day. But there's some guys in the minors that we're getting excited about. Libator, Woodford, Jack Thompson, Packy Naughton, who had a very good stretch for the Cardinals last year. And this big kid, Osovedo, he only pitched a few games, but he looked pretty good. I think they'll be down in the minors or maybe in the bullpen, and could get called up if we need somebody. But we got 6 starters now. Hudson will probably be the long man in the bullpen. And now kind of finishing up with in the bullpen. I thought our bullpen was very good last year. And what I like about Ollie is he pitches everybody. It seemed like Schilt had like 3 guys he liked, and he'd work them to death. And by the time we hit August and September, the 3 main guys were worn out. And I mean, he would just throw them out there. And those 3 guys are Helsley, who had a heck of a year last year. I don't like to think about the playoff game he had, but up to then, He was about as he was automatic as anybody else. Gallegos and Cabrera, who kind of fell out of favor at the end of the year, but I think he'll be back up and he'll make that roster. And then a lot of people forgot about Hicks, who throws over 100 miles an hour too, and has been a closer. And I think that'll be our big four, into the game relievers right there, and they can kind of rotate those guys. And then to finish out our, we got 3 more spots on a roster. Palante, and Palante's a long reliever, middle reliever, or he can start. And I think as each year he gets better and better, and he pitched very well for the Cardinals in both the starting and a bullpen role. We got this kid Stratton. We got him from Pittsburgh last year in that deadline deal, and he's a right-hander veteran. I think he'll be in there as a middle reliever. And finally, we have a Rule 5 guy, and with the Rule 5, if you pick this guy up, you got to keep him on your roster. We got this guy out of the Mexican League, and his name is Wilkin Rodriguez, and he throws the ball really hard, and he's a right-hander. To be honest with you, I looked at most of the stats, and in an MLB, he only pitched a little while for one team, but he's been down in the Mexican League for a while, and he's a guy like just now getting into his prime years, maybe 28, 29. I think for a pitcher, well, there's exceptions to the rule, but 27 to about 33 is your prime. Of course, you got Verlander out there. He's 41, 42, and a few guys like that. But so that's I think that'll be our opening day roster. A lot of people are a little skeptical about our starting pitching, but I think our bullpen's great. I think those guys will be guys that can go 6 innings and give you 3 runs and bring that bullpen in and hang on. And we've got a good hitting team, a lot of question marks with the young guys. And that's really what it comes down to. I mean, I know every team in baseball's got a few young guys that really pulling, and if they can come through, that's the difference between an 80-win season and a 90-win season. So
yeah,
we'll see. I'm excited about the Cardinals this year, though. I am always. Who am I kidding? But I'm excited about them.
Well, the opening day roster for the Cubs, I'll start with behind the plate is obviously going to be Tucker Barnhart, Yan Gomes, and they'll split probably 60-40. Yan will get about 60% of the time. Barnhart would get 40% of the time. Barnhart is a switch hitter, but he sucks at the left side of the plate and he sucks at the right side of the plate, so it doesn't matter. He can stand in the middle of the plate. He's just not a good hitter.
Take one for the team.
And our infield, we're going to have Eric Hosmer, who's going to be first base, and we're also going to have Matt Mervis, who's going to spend some time at first base. Both of them left-handed. I'm not a huge fan of us picking up Hosmer, but it was pointed out to me on a podcast I was listening to that Hosmer and Trey Mancini had basically the same year last year, and Mancini's going to command probably $8 to $10 million, and Hosmer we're paying the league minimum for. So, okay, but we're also going to have Patrick Wisdom, who's going to play some first base, and he's also going to, get a lot of time at third base. Second base, we're going to have Nico Horner, and our shortstop, of course, is going to be Dansby Swanson. And then our utility infielders, we're going to have Zach McKinstry, who's going to, he can play third, he can play short, he can play second. And he's a left-handed bat, and I hope he can find a bit of his stroke. He had some stretches where he looked pretty good at the plate. He just started I think he was 0 for 20 with the Dodgers before we picked him up, and that one hit. Now he's 1 for 20, 1 for 22, something like that. And that hit was a home run. So he did hit a little better with the Cubs because you couldn't hit much worse than that. But I kind of like the guy for a utility infielder. Our outfield, we're going to have the Gold Glover Ian Happ in left, of course, and he's a switch hitter, so he's going to give it from both sides of the plate. Cody Bellinger is going to manage center field, left-handed power bat. Sure hope that he at least plays, league average on offense, and then his defense make him above average. So Bellinger can also spell some time at first base. So, we've got Hosmer, Mervis, Wisdom, and Bellinger who can all play some first base. So our center field or our right fielders, of course, is going to be Seiya Suzuki. We expect really good things. He had a pretty good rookie year. He finished strong. Once he kind of figured the league out and everything. And so I'm expecting better things. Our backup outfield, we're going to have Christopher Morel, who can also play the infield. He played some short, he played some second, he played some third, he played some outfield. So Christopher Morel is kind of like Madden always like that Swiss Army knife. And what's his name?
Zobrist. I'm thinking
Zobrist, yeah.
When you say Swiss Army knife, I always think of Zobrist.
Yeah. So Morel's going to kind of fill that role, and he may play the bulk of his time at third base, and depending on if Wisdom decides he's going to catch the ball or not. And then we're also going to have I'm rounding out the last outfield spot with Nelson Velasquez. Not my favorite player, but when I looked at the 40-man roster and I looked what was in the minor leagues, we really just don't have much that's ready for the outfield. If Brennan Davis is healthy, yes, that's a big plus. Expect big things out of him. He's a big time prospect who's just dealt with some injuries the last couple of years. So, but I think when the season starts, no matter, unless Davis just completely tears up spring training, I think the safe thing is just to put Velasquez on as your fourth, fifth outfielder. I love our starting rotation. We don't have the power guys like the Cardinals. We have some great pitch to contact players. Marcus Stroman had a great year. So I'm excited to see him come back. Justin Steele had a wonderful year too, and he's a left-hander, so we can go right, left, first two pitchers out of the gate, first two games. And then I see our third starter being Jamison Tyone, our free agent pickup, and he's a right-hander. And our fourth starter, Drew Smiley, who we re-signed as a free agent, who pitched for us last year and did really well. He's a left-hander, so we got right, left. So I do like when you can do that with your starting rotation, kind of mix it up a bit. And so that leaves us our fifth starter. And I'm saying that we're going to start with Adrian Sampson as our fifth starter. Adrian Sampson had a great year, and he is nothing. You look at his stuff, he reminds me of when I was growing up and I'd watch Cardinal games, Bob Force just never impressed me. Nothing on the ball. But he knew how to pitch. And Adrian Sampson has been around for a while, and he seems to have figured out how to pitch because he had a heck of a run with the Cubs as a starter last year, and I see him as the fifth starter.
That's good rotation.
Yeah, I love the rotation. And if we need to do a sixth starter, we have Keegan Thompson in the bullpen. Keegan Thompson did a lot of starting last year, pitched out of the pen a bit, and did great in both areas. And I can see a situation where maybe you want Adrian Thompson for the first two times through a batting order, and then piggyback them with Keegan Thompson, kind of have that two-headed monster as your fifth starter. I can see that happening. I see that I believe we're going to keep Anthony Kay if he has a decent spring training. He pitched last for the Blue Jays. He throws hard, but he's had a hard time harnessing his control. But if we don't keep him, there's really only one other left-hander that's a viable option in the bullpen. That's why I think Anthony Kay is going to be a left-hander. We're going to have him up. We're going to start him in low leverage situations and see what we got. Cody Hewer, who is going to be coming back from Tommy John surgery, I think he's going to break camp with the team. He was a great setup man for the White Sox. We picked him up in the trade that also brought in Madrigal, and He pitched well for us 2 years ago, and then he got the Tommy John, and he has the stuff to be a closer. But I think we're gonna go north with him, and to start off, we're gonna have some soft landing spots and just see what he has. Kind of, I see, Anthony K. They're gonna see what they have with soft landing spots at the beginning of the year. Do we have something we can work with at the major league level? I see that with Cody Hewer too. They're gonna say, for a different reason, is he healthy? Is he sharp again to pitch in the high leverage situations? But I do see him breaking camp. We have Adbert Alzolay who can start poorly, but man, out of the bullpen, he seems to have found it. So I like Alzolay. Rowan Wick, I'm not too impressed with. We have tried to close with him, and he has had some mixed results as a closer. He has a great fastball and a great curveball, but he never seems to bring both of them at the same time. It's either the fastball is working or the curveball is working. So, but we'll come north with Rowan Wick. At the back end of the bullpen, I see our left-hander is going to be Brandon Hughes, who did really well for us last year, and he closed a little bit with us. Brad Boxberger, I see him more as a setup man, but he may get some closing opportunities just because he's a veteran and he's done it before. And this is my dark horse, who's going to get, I believe, a shot at being the closer, Mark Leiter Jr., who was horrible in his starts with the Cubs last year, just horrible. But out of the pen, he was the best thing that we had. I think his WHIP was under 1. His ERA was in the low ones out of the bullpen. I mean, you look at his stats and think, oh, this guy's not that good. He was terrible as a starter, but he was great out of the pen. So I think that our back end of the pen is going to be Hughes, Boxberger, and Mark Leiter Jr., and they're going to mix and match them. Ross doesn't like to name a closer. He likes to mix and match, and that comes from that catcher mentality that, I think that this guy actually would do great against this guy. Being we really don't have anybody that is throwing 102. We don't have a Jordan Hicks. I think we're going to mix and match with our closers, much like we did last year. Now, there are some notable omissions here, and I'm saying this is what I see as of today. There's a spring training that's going to happen where we're going to get a lot of questions answered, and some of these players that I like now are going to have terrible spring trainings. They're going to get hurt. So, I know this isn't the opening day roster. If it is, I'll be happy. But the notable omissions are Kyle Hendricks. We just don't know what we got. Is he going to be vintage Kyle Hendricks, or is he going to be the guy who the last couple of years has just kind of fallen off the table? We don't know. That's why I omitted him, because I'm not sure what we got with him. Hayden Wisniewski, who I am so high on, who pitched great last year. The reason I don't see him making the roster is not because he doesn't deserve it. It's because we have so many starting pitchers and he has options, and it would be beneficial for him to get his regular start every 5 days at AAA than to come and sit on our bench or be a spot starter or whatever. So I think that he's going to start the year in AAA unless there's an injury or something, and he's forced into the rotation. Javier Assad had a pretty good year as a starter too last year. Now he pitched he got lucky a lot. The exit velo off of him was pretty hard, but you look at the baseball card numbers, say, hey, he had a pretty good year. But I think he's going to start AAA. And of course, Nick Madrigal. I just don't see room for a Nick Madrigal on this team, because Nick Madrigal can play second base and that's it. He has no power. His calling card was that he's a great contact hitter. He puts the bat on the ball, and he just didn't last year. I mean, he's not like he's a strikeout machine. He's not striking out 30%, but I thought, man, for a guy who's touted that, this is a throwback contact hitter that, would only strike out, less than 20%, about 15% of the time. I don't see that. I just don't think he's and he does have options left. I just don't think he's going to make the opening day roster, and I think that we're going to try to get rid of him. But a hitter with no power who plays one position and who his bread and butter is going to be putting the bat on the ball and having that 300, 310 batting average, who's not doing that with the Cubs, I don't know who we're going to trade him to. So that's what I have as the Cubs roster right now, January 11th, 2023. Now the fun part, JJ, what's the opening day lineup going to be for the Cardinals?
Oh, well, let me see here. And I want to say one thing. Jordan Walker, that's the big talk over in Cardinalville. Jordan Walker. If he comes down and has that Albert Pujols 2001 spring training, they can't hold him back. But I can see the Cardinals sending them back down and bringing them up after May 15th and trying to get another year out of them. I don't even know if that's the rule anymore. But
I think
no
with
longer?
the new CBA, that's no longer
Okay,
the way it is.
Then he might make it. And I tell you what, this kid looks like he's something special. There's been a lot of great players come up in their first couple of years. They're finding themselves, but that kid could be something special. And then the core of our batting lineup expands even more. Now, batting 1 to 9, this is just me. I don't even know who Toronto's pitching that day, but I see Tommy Edman leading off and playing shortstop. Switch hitter, I don't know who they're going to pitch. Toronto's got a good pitching staff. So I see that the number 1 guy. The number 2 guy, I could see being Contreras, batting second.
He's hit second a lot.
Yeah, and then that means you'll have Goldie protecting you, the last year's MVP, and he'd be batting third. And of course, Arenado batting fourth. Now, right there, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, that's a stacked lineup there.
That's a stacked lineup. And then I could see them going with the second baseman, Donovan, batting fifth. He's got a very high on base percentage. He puts the bat on the ball. He's hard to strike out. And hopefully when he comes up, if he comes up in the first inning, he might have a couple of guys on base. Edmund reminds me a lot of Matt Carpenter too. He takes a lot of pitches, and that's nice. First batter, the pitcher has to throw 5 to 8 pitches. That's pretty good. So that's our front of their lineup right there, those 5. And then I could see them going, let me see, if he's a lefty, they could go back to O'Neill, who's our left fielder, and he could bat 6th. And he's got some pop there. Now, I'm not including Jordan Walker in this because I don't know if he's going to make the team. I got my fingers crossed because if he makes the team, that means he had a heck of a spring training. So I won't count him. Then in the last spots, depending on who the pitcher is, that leaves us Carlson and Newbar and the DH. And I think they're really going to be pushing Yespes for that DH spot. So that would give us another right-hander right there, batting in the 7th spot. Go with Carlson, batting in the 8th spot. He's a switch hitter. And then that leaves Newbar in the 9th spot. I kind of like it. We got some speed in the lineup. We got a lot of contact hitters. And I love 2, 3, 4, and 5. That 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if Neil can find himself, that's 6. 2 through 6 could be devastating. And then you forget about the guys at the end of the lineup. And I think that's where maybe Newbar and Carlson could thrive. Seems like you're focused so much on those guys in the middle, and those guys come back up. And then, of course, if they get on, here comes Contreras and Goldie and Arenado. I'm excited. I think our defense is going to be better. Contreras is going to be such a big uplift from the catchers we've had and what offensive production we got. So I'm so excited, and he's going to be a DH too. If we can get 120 games out of him behind the plate and DH some and give him his days off, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. And he can, and I love Yachty, but maybe he was the second slowest guy in baseball, I think he was the slowest guy. Maybe Pujols was the second slowest guy. So we got, just from them retiring, we've got a faster team right there. So, and I want to say something. I think the Cubs are going to be, I'm predicting them to be 6 games better than they were last year, because I think your defense up the middle, when Horner on second, that's where he should be. And Swanson and Bellinger and your left fielder, that's some top-notch defense right there. And those are pitch to contact pitchers you have. I can see them winning about six more games this year.
Yeah, Suzuki has won 3 Gold Gloves in the Japanese league.
Oh,
So
I didn't know. Well, he's
a
I'm
great
scared.
right
I'm
fielder.
scared of him. He'll lay down a bunt. He'll hit it the other way. Plays great defense. He hustles. That guy kind of scares me on the diamond. He's such a good player.
Well, this is what I think our opening day lineup is going to be. And I do want to preface this with, I don't think this is going to be the way the lineup is going to go through the year. And I'll get into why I think the lineup is going to be constructed at this on opening day. Leading off, I think Suzuki's going to be leading off, and that's almost by
Guarantee
who else is going
lock.
to lead off.
Yeah.
Suzuki takes pitches. He can walk. He's a pretty good contact guy. He's got some power. He's got some speed. So I think Suzuki, even though he wasn't a leadoff hitter last year, I think he's going to be our leadoff hitter this year. And Nico Horner is a classic number 2 hitter, contact hitter, sprays the ball around, a great situational hitting person, so he can hit behind the runner, do some hit and run with him. So I see Horner batting second. Third is I see Ian Happ batting third. This is where I don't think this is going to be indicative of the rest of the season. I just think the season is going to start. They're going to put Hosmer on first base on opening day, and he's going to hit cleanup because of his experience. And I'll get into that in a minute. Batting fifth will be Swanson, playing our shortstop. And sixth, we're going to have Bellinger in center field. Seventh, third base, Patrick Wisdom. And if we have a team where Patrick Wisdom can hit down in the lineup, and I always have to preface this, I just hope he catches the ball this year. If we have a team where we can have this guy hit down in the lineup, hit 25, 30 home runs and still hit 220, I'm great with that. I am fine with that down in the lineup. Batting eighth, DHing, I think Matt Mervis is going to start the year as the DH. And the reason I've got him down so low is because I think Ross, being that this is a rookie, a lot is expecting out of him, is going to put him in a place where there's not so much pressure. I think if this lineup was coming out in June or July, maybe Mervis is in the middle of the lineup, and Hosmer, if he's in the lineup, is going to be lower in the lineup. And batting ninth will be Gomes. And I constructed this lineup thinking that we will be facing either Corbin Burns or Woodruff on opening day, both hard-throwing right-handers. And that's how I constructed the lineup for opening day for the Cubs. So I'm going to keep this.
Okay.
And
I'll keep mine.
In fact, I'm going to put this in a prominent place on my desk. And on opening day, I'm going to see how close I am to that. And if I hit it, if I hit the jackpot, I think everybody should just praise me.
I'll praise you. Praise Vince. Who's going to start? Who's going to be the Cubs? We didn't talk about pitchers. Who's opening for the
Stroman's going to be the opening day starter.
I think Flaherty will be the opening starter for us.
Okay, JJ, are you ready to open up baseball cards? You got a story behind your package. Let's hear it.
Oh, yeah, I'm right here. I'm opening this year's packs. It's the second. They have 2 sets, the first and the second. So you get the first half of the set early in the year and number 2. And this is donated by longtime fan Vince Opper, president of his fan club, Tom Maget. Yeah, he watches for the Vince Opper experience, but he donated to our cause a pack of cards. So I'm opening 2002 set 2 from Topps this year. It's got Vladimir Guerrero Jr. on the front. Which pack you got?
I have 1987 Topps. I'm going back to old school.
Oh, we always flip-flop. Oh, yeah. Well, let's see what we got here. Let me kind of straighten them up. They're all in different directions and everything. I remember your son says never trust a Royals pitcher. Well, we're starting off with a Royals pitcher, Danny Duffy, right there. And look at that. What kind of style of pitching is that? I think he's dodging a line drive back at him right there. I think is what's going on in that picture. Oh man. Okay. I'm not very good. I'm from Arkansas, and it's hard for me to pronounce some of the other countries' names. Teoscar Hernandez from Toronto.
Yes. Teoscar Hernandez, yes.
Very good player.
Yeah.
Yes. I'd love to have him.
And I love that name, Teoscar.
I do too. Yeah. If I have a fourth child, it's Teoscar Jackson. That's what he's going to be. All right. This player, I tell you what, last year, the Guardians, I loved watching that team, that young team, exuberance and everything. And here's one of their catchers for the Cleveland team, Sandy Leon. And I like that he's in the throwing position. I like the pictures on these top cards.
Yeah.
They did a good job. This kid, he made his name. It says future star, but he's here and he's now. It's Tristan McKenzie from the Guardians as well. We're pretty Guardian heavy there, but that's a very good picture. Very lean player. That guy's
he's a string bean.
He needs a burger and a shake, you know. Let's see. Oh, ex-Cardinal. Probably the ace, maybe one of the aces of the White Sox, Lance Lynn, right there.
Just keeps rolling.
Yeah, he a player. I thought the Cardinals were going to get it one time. Always like this guy, Blake Snell, right there, coming at you and living in color. This guy, known as the Quad God, Atlanta Brave, Spencer Strider. That I'm telling you what, the Braves are going to be very good this year. Look out for the Braves, man. That's a good team. Here's a classic here. This guy has had some great years with the White Sox and Red Sox. Chris Sale.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I don't know if I could hit. I could hit major league pitching, but his delivery, that thing comes in on you and then shoots across the plate. I'd hang it up. Let's see. I'm looking here. And my last one is a young player, one of the future stars for the Baltimore Orioles, ex-St. Louis Browns, and his name is Anthony Santander.
Yeah, Santander. Yes.
Very good. He's one of their he's going to carry that team for a long time. And I think Baltimore, they're on the rise. Well, they lost 100 games 3 years in a row. They had nowhere to go but up. But look out for the Orioles.
That's one way to look at it. All right. 1987 Topps with the wonderful wax packaging that I can just tear out. Anybody, I'll tell you, the first person who emails us at 1cardinal1cub, 1beer@gmail.com, you can have the 30-year-old gum or the 35-year-old gum.
That'll kill a mouse right there.
So, all right. Oh, yeah.
87. Good old days.
All right. The underrated Cecil Cooper.
Oh, love Cecil
Great
Cooper.
Red Sox, great brewer.
Definitely.
Former All-Star second baseman for the Orioles and the Angels, Bobby Grish.
Oh, Grish was great. Oh, definitely.
One of the first big free agents when free agency started.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Former pitcher Bill Mooneyham. Hey, I remember the name.
I like the jersey, that Oakland A's jersey.
It's my wife's favorite player, Tommy Herr.
That's right. International Playboy.
I'll keep this one out and give it to her tonight. So
that's love right there.
Wonderful manager, decent player, Bob Melvin.
Yes, very good.
Former pitcher, pitched for the Giants and the Angels, Gary Lucas.
Okay. I know the name.
Eric the Red.
Eric the Red.
In his prime. Oh, his rookie year, 27 home runs. How many bases did he steal? Stole 80 bases his rookie year. No. That wasn't his rookie year. That was his first year as a full-time player.
Man, outstanding.
Checklist.
Yeah, rip off.
Benny DiStefano?
Yeah, I remember that guy.
I don't.
Couldn't tell you anything about him, but I remember the guy.
This is Dave Dravecki back when he had 2 arms.
Boom! Oh yeah, we have a lot. We don't show much love here on the show. Dave Dravecki. He wrote a
For
book.
those of you who are younger, Dave Dravecki had cancer in his pitching arm and had to be amputated. And that was a terrible joke, but you should see my stand-up. That's Miles.
Oh man.
Oh, we got him again from the Doors, Jim Morrison.
Oh yeah. Bum, 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 da, 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 da.
Center fielder, played for the Mariners and the Angels. Decent player, Rupert Jones.
Oh yeah. Nice player.
And we got him again, Bob Forsch.
Bob Forsch, 2 no-hitters, Cardinals. Love Forschy.
Pat Clements, pitch for the Pirates.
Mhm.
Wait a minute. Yeah, Pirates. Okay. I have always followed the Royals. They've been my American League team from the 70s. Brett McRae, Amos Otis.
Yeah. Willie Wilson.
Lidorf. Yeah, Wilson,
Yeah.
Gurra, all those players. I cannot believe I have no idea who this guy is, nor how to pronounce his name. It is Argenesis Salazar. Do you remember him? I don't.
No, I don't remember him.
Oh, another guy who mostly made his mark is a manager, future Hall of Fame manager, Bruce Bochy.
Yes. Believe he's with Texas now. They're turning that around.
Yes, he is. And former closer, he closed 1 or 2 years for the Cubs, and he's a Hall of Famer, Mr. Goose Gossage.
Oh, the Goose, tough guy. Oh yeah, had that Fu Manchu throw inside.
He's kind of become an old crotchety guy though. So,
Yeah.
but then again, so have I. Who cares?
Hey, that's right. I am too. Oh.
Well, JJ, it's been a lot of fun.
Oh,
Do you want
this
to
has been a good
thank our guest, Phil Brooks.
Thanks, Phil.
Not CM Punk, that's CM Punk's real name, but Phil Brooks. So
Great trivia question. Very good. Very good, Vince.
I did not ask him, are you CM Punk?
I thought it was coming.
Right on my tongue. I thought, now I'm gonna have more respect. So all right. Well, JJ, you have a great week.
You too, man.
See you next week.
See you next week. Have a great week, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.